Some leaders leave footprints, others leave libraries. You're tuning into the Authors on Mission podcast, where industry giants become literacy legends. In every episode, we talk with authors who turn their brilliance into books that transform lives. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authors on Mission. Welcome to your authorship experience. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Authors on Mission podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Hutchinson, the Chief Creative Officer at Authors on Mission. And today I am honored to welcome Sanar Alixandyr, author of the powerful memoir, Becoming Sanar, From Shadow to Light. It's a journey of self-discovery. At 72 years young, Sanar brings wisdom gathered through decades of personal transformation. With a background spanning education, professional music, and performing arts, she has now dedicated herself to empowerment coaching and energetic healing. Her book kind of chronicles her journey from trauma to healing, guided by spiritual insights and a profound inner awakening. So through her story, she offers readers a pathway to confront her own shadows, embrace their authentic selves, and transform pain into purpose. Sanar, thank you for joining us today on Authors on Mission podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you too. I mean, anybody who's written a book is always welcome on. And, in your case, your book has had tremendous success, has some very incredibly meaningful messages in there. So I think our audience is in for a treat today. So, without further ado, I wonder if you'd like to begin by just giving everybody a brief overview of who you are and what led you to write your book.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is
I know it's a loaded question. It scares some people, but feel free to be as brief and as long-winded as you want, whatever it takes to, give us a little bit of a glimpse into what, led you to start typing words on that keyboard.
Well, girl, this is the fulfillment of a promise I made to my little girl, whose story this is, to the little girl that experienced all the trauma and all the stress and the near-death experiences and the abuse, and held on to those memories and those experiences for 30 years. And suddenly, at the age of 30 something, being a single mother, she just called out for help. She knew there was something wrong with her, something major wrong with her. She was just a mess, and wanted to find out how she could make her life better for herself and her son. So she just cried out to a God she didn't believe in. She was just like, there's something wrong with me. Tell me what's wrong with me. And that led to a myriad of experiences and a myriad of people and angels in physical form as well as energetic form to come and tell her and show her, have her experience what was wrong with her and why. So as Sanar, the spirit, was going through this process of discovering and releasing the things that the repercussions from what happened to this little girl, I made a promise to her that I would tell her story. And so she is now complete and free, that little Linda, and we've released all the bad things that happened to her, and I am Sanar, and I'm the spirit that chose to have this story. And when the universe says, now is the time to write the story, you sit down and write the story. Yeah. So thus, here we are.
Yeah, here we are. I mean, first off, an incredible path you've taken, and I love your perspective on things too. It's unique from what you hear traditionally, but it's an amazing way of explaining it and the journeys that you've had. I mean, for example, I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, and you've said that you've lived many lives, right? And I think that kind of embodies what you just said. From that past as well, but then kind of going into the education, the entertainment, you call yourself a woman of the world. So I guess kind of my next question then is, how have all these experiences influenced your approach to healing and empowerment?
Wow. I believe it has made me quite empathic and empathetic with the struggles that we as women are going through currently, we have in the past, and the journey we are all on. So, since I've had a lot of jobs, a lot of identities, a lot of marriages, a lot of experiences, then that gives me a sense of like, wow, you're not going to get any judgment from me. Anything anyone could have experienced, I have no problem with that. I used to call it the stupid scale. I have a stupid scale, meaning we all just do stuff that doesn't seem to be in our best interest, but seems to be out of our control to not do that. And it's just a result of, usually it's a result of childhood experiences that keep recurring, and we keep acting out until we figure out that we don't have to be that. We don't have to do that. We can do something better. And the reason I share this story is it was through this post-traumatic stress era, I call it, because it was several months. It wasn't a weekend. It was quite a while. And I discovered like, oh, I'm this light, and I'm this joy, and I'm this freedom, and that's who I am. And that's who checked out at the first near-death experience. And Linda, the little girl, was the one that held on to all of these things. And so me being the light got to come through and really help her to release all of that.
Yeah, I mean, first off, amazing right there. And thank you for bringing this, all to us today. I think that one thing we need to recognize here is that to tell a story like this, it requires an amount of strength from you as well, like all the things you've been through. So first off, that's just really admirable. And I think anybody listening today, especially who might be dabbling and thinking about writing about their own experiences too, can find strength by hearing what you have to say to hear and listening to your journey as well, and how you were able to take all this and put it onto the pages. So yeah, incredible.
Thank you so much. It's not what I wanted to talk about for many, many years, but it seems to be part of my mission to share the story in the hopes that other people will become inspired and enlightened and take their own lives into their own hands and go, all right, let's do this. I'm not what happened to me. I'm this powerful being. So let's do whatever it is we came here to do.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And, again, what you're doing here is helping so many people. So I guess
Thank
I'd like to of course, I'd like to transition and kind of talk a little bit about, the process it took for you to write this book, right? So, for example, like I mentioned before, it must have been very difficult to go through everything. What process would you recommend for somebody trying to figure out, okay, what stories am I going to share? What am I not going to? How do I censor it all to present it in a way that
Right.
really conveys my message? Do you have any advice for somebody who might be, also struggling to
Also
well?
traveling.
Yeah,
It
traveling.
is. It is such an overwhelming experience. I'm just going to say that it's not, and I'm so grateful for the people that helped me, because it was overwhelming to bring it all up again and heal it on a deeper level, on a different level. When I was going through the post-traumatic stress, it was overwhelming, but I was just in it. I had no control over all of that. So to take the story and these experiences and work with a team and work with an angel writer, work with authors on mission that knew how to make this happen. I can write music, I can write songs, I can write poetry, I can, write over here, but to take the essence of who I used to be and put it on paper for people to read was challenging. Whoop, I lost your voice.
So I was on
There
mute.
you. Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
Yeah, I like to put myself on mute sometimes just in case. So our editors are really great that they'll be able to cut that out.
Don't worry.
So yeah, to bounce back on what you just said, it's great to know that even though it was a little bit of a struggle, to tell this story, you had an angel writer there with you to, be your guide. As an angel writer myself, I know what it's like to talk to a client and really just hear their problems and embody that and be able to tell their story through their voice on the page, but while still healing them in the process. It's funny, I have a client who jokes that I was like his therapist as we were our
Yeah.
weekly Zoom calls. I'm wondering, was that kind of the same experience for you a little bit?
I wanted the story to be a novel. I wanted it to be something that people could read. I really didn't want it to be a documentary of the horrible things that happened to me and how I got better. I didn't want that. My intention was in the writing of the book, my intention was that it was a place for other beings that needed something to take home with them and bump up against the story in a safe place and fall in love with this little girl, fall who like experienced no love in any area of her life. And for the reader to fall in love with this little girl and in essence fall in love with their little girl and the struggles that they endured to function in this crazy three-dimensional world. So I chose my angel writer because of his capacity of dealing with complicated. He was more of a novel writer than it's not a workbook. It's a story, if I may just put it that way. And I tried to write this like probably 10 times. I started the book lots of different times in the past, 20, 30 years, and just couldn't get past that initial first 5 pages, and it just always kind of came to a stop. And so when this opportunity arose, it was like, all right, here. So basically, I really liked being interviewed. I really liked being asked questions. I really liked just being the resource and allowing this beautiful writer to utilize his amazing skills to make it a lovely story.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, it's great to know that you were able to embody that and put that into your story as well. And, it's not just that makes your stories so profound and memorable, but also, the imagery that you put in there. I mean, as I was looking through it myself, I noticed, a lot of powerful images of like light and shadow, especially at like the turning points, like the traffic light changing from red
Yeah.
to green. So, to all of our listeners today, this is something you could also embody in your book. I'm wondering, how do these symbolic elements help you process and communicate your experiences? And why did you choose these ones particularly? Was there a plan in mind?
the When the universe has a plan, it's best just to, shut up and show up. I say, just like, okay, let it come through. Luckily or wonderfully, I've been trained in allowing energy to flow through me and allow something better than what I could accomplish by myself, allow that to happen through me. So, as far as a structure for the book, I really wanted to use the 3 near-death experiences because they were very pivotal. And those patterns that I created during each experience ran me for the rest of my life. And so I could see every time I was exiting the physical body, I was going to a light, so the body was dark, I was light. And so I had that experience several times and dealt with it in different ways. But the last near death experiences, I got sent back. I was like, woo, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this anymore. And they were like, no, you have work to do. So this is the work that I came back to do, to help others, train others, support others in becoming their highest self, their light self, becoming thus the difference between Linda and Sanar. Linda was an ego identity as a child. Sanar is the spirit that chose to have that experience as Linda. And so that gave me a dichotomy from which to work.
Got it. Yeah. And that's not the only element at play in your book either. I understand, well, not just in your book, but in your life as well. You have your guardian angel, for example, Ola. She, plays a significant role in your journey as well. I'm wondering if you could perhaps share a little bit about her and when you first became aware of this spiritual guidance and, any advice you might have to any listeners today who might also be experiencing, sort of a guiding force in their lives like that as well.
Wonderful. You ask the best questions. I love it.
I like to
I
do my
love
research. I like to make sure I
it.
know what my authors are talking about and
Yeah.
what they're really that's important to them. It's important to know that as an angel writer, as an editor, as a podcast host, as any lover of a book. So yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Thank you for that question. By the time it became time to experience what had happened to me, I was totally lost as a human being. So I wasn't aware of spirits. I wasn't aware of, well, I guess I kind of was, but not as a guiding force. I was just running, 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 running. I was just lost. So I met a lovely lady, another single mother. Her name was Radha, and she brought Ola to me. She was the one that introduced me to Ola. And Goddess Dove Ola used to channel and teach healing techniques a long time ago. And that was where my friend learned these techniques, and she started to practice them on me because she wanted because sometimes you're just doing things and just because it needs to be done. And through her, I was introduced to Ola and going through these experiences, and Ola guided everything, what we were to do beforehand, what we were to do during a session. I don't know if you know much about post-traumatic stress. You just kind of explode into what happened before and it just reiterates itself completely in your physical body and in your mind and in your expression. So I relived everything that happened to me, including dying, which, was kind of sucky until it got funny, just because I would go, oh, well, it didn't kill me because I'm still here. And then lo and behold, like, oh, there we go. There we go again. But Lola guided the sessions, what to do before, during, and after, how to release the memories, and then how to nourish myself, how to nurture myself with nature or aromatherapy or art therapy or whatever. And so she was the boss. And then as I became the real me, Sanar, as I became more of that. And she's the one that told me that's what my name really was in spirit form, or is, I guess. Um, at the time, was. It felt like home. It's like, oh, feels like something we all agreed to do in another realm before we started this lifetime. So I got a really strong sense that this was a choice. This was a mission. This was planned. We're part of a team doing something to hopefully uplift and heal, especially women on the planet, but not only women, but just to bring that divine feminine forward and to clear out everything that happened before this now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know it does. And it's always good to have, a guiding force by you, whether it's in the form of Ola or in the form of, for example, the team that helped you bring, these ideas onto the page. And, in retrospect, also, like your book is now an element of other people's team as they're, looking to go through their own process of healing from trauma and all of that. I understand one thing that you wanted to share is sort of the importance of creating such a tangible product, this work of art in your book as an aspect to personal healing from trauma. So I kind of wonder if you could elaborate a little bit more on that, but also perhaps this might be a time to share your book cover with us, which I know is in the back of your
Oh,
right here. Um,
isn't that lovely? Where are we?
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it bright, nice and clear. The visuals there. Did you pick it out yourself?
Did
Did you
some
design it yourself?
Well, I was given choices of covers, and of course, I was drawn to the black and white. And yeah, this just really felt strong to me and powerful to me and clear as to how it felt for me, like just bringing in that beauty and that light. Yeah.
Good.
So
Yeah, I love
I
that.
did get to have a say.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to everybody listening today, at Authors on Mission, when you do publish a book, you do have a big say in every element of your writing. So that's kind of what I was asking. I was wondering if you in terms of the cover, made it or had some of the artists make it. I know that at Authors we have a couple different processes to go through for that. So that's wonderful to know that you had a
Yeah.
selection. So to anybody else interested in proceeding with that, you do get a bunch of options.
Mhm.
Sorry, continue.
With what were we talking about?
Oh, yes. So I
I'm
know.
like,
Well, I figured
la
this
la
would be a great time to transition into showing me the cover and a little bit of that, but also, then guiding us into the discussion of, why it's so important to create a tangible product, this
Oh,
this work of art,
as a work
as an
of art.
aspect of personal healing from trauma.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if you could perhaps shed a little bit of the light on that,
Thank you
how
so
that.
much. When I was going through my process, there were many art therapies. There's art therapy, there's music therapy, there's physical therapy, there's lots of tangible things that you can do to help release past, we should call them energy constrictions, blockages. And, when you have something bad happen to you, you don't go, hey, you go, ah, and you block it and you hold on to it. And eventually, hopefully you get to let that go so it doesn't block your light energy. I just felt like this was such medium, a powerful medium for me to take another look at everything that happened, take a look at the story, allow it to live and breathe and release it to the world. It just is, or not. Like I really wasn't attached to it having to be successful. I was attached to it being loving and beautiful and kind and, a gift if people are interested in it. So I really do feel that that's a divine feminine energy. It's a more of a flowering and a blossoming, and it comes from deep within our hearts and souls and bodies rather than our intellectual structures. And of course, I use my intellectual structures to say, I like that picture. I want this structure, bring it to have a defined structure and a home and a flow. I've written a lot of music. I've written plays. I've done a lot of dramas. There's a flow to an event. There's a flow to a book. There's a flow to a movie. There's a flow to a song. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you want it to go seamlessly. You want people to feel like they're moving along with it. Otherwise, why bother? But if you're in the flow and moving along with it, then it becomes a great healing. I was able to just really see it at a deeper level and not be angst about it. Like when I speak with people and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, I'm fine. I'm a little weird. I'm a little kooky. And, yes, 20 years ago, I was like, oh, poor me, angst. But once you put it in print form, it's cathartic at a whole different level. And it's not painful and it's not filled with angst. It's more loving who you used to be and how that all happened and let that go.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I mean, that's something, really crucial about your book as a whole. And, I know one thing that your book does mention as well is, the importance of unveiling those repressed memories, which, kind of goes hand in hand to what you just said, right? Like opening up your inner doors, right, to whatever, you might be holding back. It's a key aspect of healing. And I get that. And I get that that's something that your book really embodies. So, my question branching off of that is, what would you give to readers as advice to who might be confronting similar buried traumas in their own lives? What might you say to them? And perhaps it's something they can learn from your book, but maybe you can give them a little bit of a sneak peek today if they're listening and interested.
So what would I say? What advice would I give? I'm sorry, I'm hearing Ola. She's like direct. Ola is not a foofy angel. She's like really clear. She's really strong. She's really precise. She's loving, but she's one of those mentors that you want to have that leads you and cares about you. I have a tendency to be kind of fluffy and kind and loving. I don't want to be mean to anybody. But she's saying be direct. Number one, you have the power to do this. You have the power to heal from this. You have the power to deal with anything that you have experienced, and you are still here to deal with it. You have the capability and the power to do that. Number two, then be gentle with yourself so that these can come up for you to release. That takes a great safe space. Find someone that you feel really safe with. I prefer someone who has been through similar experiences because they just kind of get it without me having to explain anything. Like, I don't have time to stop and explain anything to you. I'm just like processing, going through that. So number one, you have the power. Number two, you have the loving capability for yourself. And then three, you can let it go. There's angels all around us. There are beings of light. There are beings of love. There are a bazillion amazing, beautiful, energetic beings that are specifically here to help. And they can't help if you don't ask. So, don't be afraid to ask for help in the middle of this. And they can come in and love you and return you to your essential self.
Okay, I thank you for sharing that. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It kind of goes back to what you mentioned before about having, somebody by your side, that team, all of that. So, yeah, thanks for that. It's amazing advice for anybody. So kind of, moving forward from that, I'm wondering, if you don't mind just sharing a little bit more about, this book came out on the shelves and, what has the feedback been like since it's been, out there? Have you received a lot of people reaching out saying, have they been impacted or perhaps, one way or another? I'm kind of curious.
One way or another. I know I've been getting some really lovely feedback. Writers love the writing, that it's intelligent, it's thoughtful, it's good to read. Those who are involved in healing themselves take their time with it and allow themselves to go deeper within themselves than they thought they were capable of doing by bringing it into their selves. Professionally, I feel like it's a biography for me. It's a bio. Like, who are you and what can you do? Well, I can do lots of things, but it gives people an insight into being able to reach out to me because they know I've been through this, and I know that it's not just something I've read in a book. It's something I've lived through and made it to the other side. So I do have lovely people who reach out to me for help and assistance and guidance and energy work as well, to stream energy with them, for them, through them, to help them release that which they are not yet understanding. And then being an educator, I train them in being able to do that themselves. Like, what is it about you? What is it about you that makes you different and unique from everybody else? And how does life work for you? I am not the person to say, oh, the whole world needs to read this book, or, oh, yeah, the whole world needs this. The whole world doesn't need anything. But what I would like to see is those of us who have been influenced by so much information, so many possibilities, so many techniques, so many this and that, be able to discover what works for them so that everything that doesn't work can be let go. And that way you are a bright and shining, beautiful human being.
I love that at the end there. Something for all of us to think about.
Yeah, yeah. Because the more bright and shiny you are, the more bright and shiny other people can be. And then pretty soon we're living bright and shiny lives and existences. And the darkness just has no choice but to leave us. Like the light will always win. Yes, there's a lot of turmoil and struggle going on, but underneath that turmoil and that struggle is a great, perfect design for healing and love and unconditional acceptance of one another.
Right, yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think, anybody listening today should be very inspired by this point with all these amazing tips. I mean, whatever you're doing right now, everybody, I mean, whether you're driving in the car or listening, in the shower, on a workout, whatever it is, I mean, take this advice and take it as a homework right after this episode and kind of try to I always like to say that, I mean, it's something we could all, learn from and, even better yet, pick up the book, read more about it yourselves. And perhaps if you're inspired to share your own ideas, do it yourself, write your own ideas down. There's nothing holding you back. Branching off of that, Snar, what advice might you give to any aspiring authors who, might be wanting to write about a topic similar to yours, healing from the trauma of their own lives and trying to put that on a page, even if they don't think they're much of a writer? What kind of advice would you recommend?
Well, I totally understand. I mean, I was raised that nobody cared what I thought, what I said, anything. I was not allowed to exist as a child. And so I had, in spite of the fact that I'm an entertainer and an actress and a singer and a songwriter and all of this public stuff, that all happened outside of my upbringing. That all was a place where I got to finally show up and be the real me, playful and happy and inspiring and energizing and all that good stuff. But when it came to, writing a book and writing the story and writing all of this, I could just hear the voice in my head. I could hear my father go, "Who do you think you are?" And I had to turn that around. It was like, well, who do I think I am? I think I'm pretty wonderful inside, as we all are. And so I had a belief structure that nobody cared about me, what I did, what I thought, what I had to say. And so I wanted to just have this, I just wanted to follow the divine direction that said, write the book now. And Authors on Mission approached me. Audrey was wonderful. And it just was like, yes, 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 yes. When it's right, there's just a feeling, there's an energy flow that just positive, 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 positive. And even when even when there was a struggle, it was positive. Like, this is perfect. I don't know what's perfect about it, but it's perfect. And so just to continue to take baby steps, continue to do it, and kind of let go of your attachment of what happens to it after it's done, but just allow the process. If you allow the process of writing and creating and producing and publishing a book, a story, whatever is in your heart, then that's divine. That's just gorgeous. It just is. And it's for you and for those who are inspired by that or interested in what you have to say. Because individually, like, there's a lot of trauma stories, and I wasn't sure, like, why. Like, who wants to read one more trauma story? And it's like, I don't know. And people say, "Oh, who's your target audience?" I'm like, I have no idea. I'm just following divine guidance and allowing this to be processed through me. And once you complete the process, and it's like, a breath of a sigh of not relief, but a sigh of acceptance, like, wow, we did it, you know? And when I say we, I mean we. A lot of people were involved in this process. And so it was a great teamwork. And then now it's released and I can think about, well, what might be next? You know, what might I want to accomplish next? But someone once told me, you don't dream of things you're not capable of. My entire life kept looking for my book on the shelves in libraries and in bookstores. I kept thinking I'm going to be an author, and I did not know. I wasn't born being an author, but it was the insight into a possible future for me. So I'm paying attention to those and I'm remembering those moments and going, oh wow, I wonder what's going to happen next. So here I get to talk with you, and that's just awesome.
Well, I love that you shared all that with us. I think, it's first off, again, truly inspiring and, things that we could all embody and use ourselves, and especially our little authors and writers today too. So, I mean, thanks for sharing that. And, if anybody here is interested in learning more about you and what you have to do, where can they find you? Where can they reach out to perhaps seek additional guidance or send you any messages? How can they get in touch?
So the best place to find me is on LinkedIn right now. I I shut down my website because it was the past, and it just feels like that's over. So I'm starting anew, and I believe that the next book is like being Sanar, not becoming Sanar, but being Sanar. Like it's the journey to get here was like, whew, it's done. So now what does it mean to be Sanar? Who do I get to be? I get to choose what I do, how I feel, where I go with my life. And so that's a whole new adventure. And so I wanted to close down my website because it was just all past stuff. The best place to find me is on LinkedIn. There will be past stuff and present stuff and future stuff going on there until I get till things drop into place for me.
Got it. And hey, that's amazing news to know that you're going to be, continuing on with this writing journey as well. That's really exciting to know. And so we'll definitely be on the lookout to finding out the next steps and all of that. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm wondering if you have any last bits you'd like to share with the audience as we begin to wrap up today. Any last pieces of homework, as I said before, for our listeners.
So, all right, let's see. What do we want? What do we want? What's our message for today? Gosh, it sounds so hokey, I think, because I think we think it all has to be hard, but it's just love, meaning an openness, a kindness. Inside all of us is this beautiful, loving source of light and gentleness and individuality. It is our reaction to past experiences that cause us to be narcissistic, to be controlling, passive aggressive, depressed, suicidal. It's all of that stuff that it's our reaction of trying to function in a world that doesn't make sense quite often as a child. And so if we can move into a space of loving ourselves, our real selves, our true selves. They call it our higher selves. Some people call it the game of ascension. What does that mean? That means we're just being the good part of ourselves, not the 3D battle war old paradigms. It's about owning our true higher selves and expanding on that. And that's what is changing the world. So breathe and allow that to function through your physical body. There are energies of light and life that run through our body all the time. And so as we embody that light and beautiful love essence, then there's a great power in that.
Thank you so much for that. I love that. And, to anybody else right now, breathe, right?
Breathe. Yeah.
Right. Just take a minute to yourself and breathe in and breathe out. I love that. Thank you.
For sure.
So yeah, everybody listening today, this has been an enlightening conversation with Sanar Alixandyr. What a powerful reminder that it's never too late to share your story, to heal from your past, and to help others along their journey. This memoir stands as a testament to the transformative power of confronting our shadows and embracing our authentic selves. So, just thank you so much for your vulnerability and, for just sharing this story with us today. And to our listeners, remember that your own story matters as well. And sharing it authentically could be the light that somebody else needs on their path. So, if you're interested in writing your own story, follow Sanar's lead, write your own book. Authors on Mission is all about that, helping you express your ideas. Even if you don't believe you're a good writer, there's people on our team that can help you out, empower you to find your voice and to make your unique impact. And so if you're inspired today by Sanar's work, check her out on LinkedIn, check out the book, be ready for the next book when it comes out. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to Authors on Mission and check out the more podcasts. And until next time, I'm Danielle. This has been a great conversation with Sanar Alixandyr, and we're both reminding you that, your mission as an author begins with finding your authentic voice. Until next time, have a great day, everybody. And Sanar, thanks again.
Mwah. Thank you.
This is Danielle Hutchinson reminding you that somewhere, someone needs the book that only you can write. Visit authorsonmission.com to start your legacy. Until next time, keep leading, keep inspiring, and keep thinking in chapters. Have a great day.